this is my last brew on my 40 litre coffee urn because I've put a new system. I'm just using a brew in the bag with, I use a bungee cord there for extra stability, because last time I actually lost control of the bag and I got grains inside the boil and it wasn't great. You can't see in there, but there is a colander in the bottom to keep the bag off the element. So today I'm brewing a New Zealand Pale Ale, but I have gone a little bit low on the hops, so I'm only going to be at around 21 IBUs, so yeah, but it'll still taste good. So I've gone for 3.5 kilograms of Marisota, half a kilogram of Munich malt, 200 grams of Crystal 60 and 200 grams of Victory malt. For bittering hops, I've got 30 grams of Pacifica at 60 minutes. I'm just doing a 60-minute boil today because I want to get it out of the way quickly. At 15 minutes, I'm putting 7.5 kilograms of Rewaka, New Zealand Styrians and New Zealand Pacifica. And at 3 minutes, I'm going for the same 7.5 of Rewaka, New Zealand Styrians and Pacifica. So I'm going to have an estimated OG of 1.047 and an estimated final gravity of 1.012, and I should end up with around 4.6% alcohol. I'm going to seal it up for an hour. I usually put sleeping bags around it, but since I've moved I haven't been able to find the sleeping bags. But I'm in an electric urn, so I'll come back in about half an hour, check the temperature. If it's dropped too low, I'll put the element on, give it a bit of a stir and get it back up to temperature. So mash out complete, and the time that every brew in the bagger loves the most, lifting the bag out. Now it might only seem like there's about 4-5 kilograms of grain, and that should sound quite light, but when you add in the water on top, it's not actually that much fun to lift it out, because you've got all the water and all the suction as well. Oh, and the bag's very hot. So I'll turn on the element again and get the boil ready, and I'll let that drain. I tend not to squeeze it or sparge because I don't want to get any of the toxins out of there. So now would be the time that I would normally take a pre-boil gravity reading, but unfortunately I've dropped my hydrometer and I've smashed it. I do have a backup which arrived this week, so I've got a refractometer. The only problem with that is I haven't yet calibrated it, which I was going to use my hydrometer for. So I'm going to have a complete guess to see whether I've actually achieved it or not. So let's have a look. I'm aiming for pre-boil gravity of 1040. First time I've ever used one of these, so this is interesting. So we seem to have 1031. So I'm hoping that this just does need calibrated, because if it's 1031, I've completely missed my target gravity. But I might take a sample so that I can test it later on, and then when I get another hydrometer we'll get this calibrated and I'll be able to tell for sure. Right, I've just achieved a boil, and like an idiot I forgot to take the colander out, so when the boil happened, the colander has tipped over, and so it's jammed under the element now and sitting on its side, which means later when I go to put my wort chiller in there, it's going to be a bastard of a job and it's going to take twice as long to heat. It's happened to me before, so you'd think that I would have learnt the first time, but yeah. So I'm going to stick in the first hop addition, which is 30 grams of Pacifica for 60 minutes, so for the whole boil. Peg that on around there so that it stays in. I'll just get my spoon. There's a lot of hot matter coming out of the bag, so I might as well have just chucked it in there. It's been a really interesting brew day today. So much has gone wrong. See, I can feel the colander in there, but I just can't get it out. Usually I use a set of kitchen tongs, and just after I take the bag out I can just pick it out neatly, but when the boil happens it tipped over, and as I said, it's wedged under there and it's going to be a real bitch. So now I've got the second hop addition. I'm just going to put this in here. Had a bit of a stuff up with the scales, so I've had to kind of guess what I've got in there, but I think that I'm just about there. It's been one of those brew days that you just don't, it makes you want to not brew again. So 15 minutes to go. I'm also going to chuck in the wort chiller as far in as I can get it, because I've got the colander in there. So that shows you it's still sticking out the top. It's only going a wee bit in there. So yes, one of those brew days that you don't want to remember. So really late in the boil now, and final preparations. Got your sanitised carboy, got the yeast and scissors and siphon all ready. Wort chiller in there ready for flame out, and what have we got? We've got 4 minutes left, so I've just got to get ready for the last addition of hops. And then we start cooling. So I've been cooling now for 13 minutes exactly, and it's starting to clear up nicely, and it's down to about 35 degrees. A bit disappointed with the hop aroma. There's not a massive hop aroma, but I should have guessed with not having a huge amount of hops in there. Yeah, I've learnt a lot from today. As I said, it's been a brew day from hell. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. Should be about another 10 or 15 minutes and I'll be able to transfer into the fermenter.
God, it's hot.